everybody, this is Rebecca Sager. This is my NCTM article share for week 616, 7 Billion People, Fostering Productive Struggle by Jacqueline Maraska. Jacqueline Maraska is a math teacher and a trainer of elementary and middle school pre-service teachers, and she was driving home one evening and she heard the statement that the world population had reached 7 billion people. And she accepted that, but the announcer went on to say that if you laid all of the people on Earth end to end, they would circle the Earth 266 times. And if you took all 7 billion people and stood them shoulder to shoulder, they would all fit into Los Angeles. So she went home and she got to work like a true math teacher on verifying those pieces of information. And it turns out it was true. So she thought, well, maybe I could use that with my pre-service and elementary middle level teachers. So she set about putting together this project. She defined productive struggling as struggling that at times has confusion and struggle, but that breakthroughs happen after that confusion and struggle. And that it's important to have a task with high cognitive demand, several solutions, something that has some assumptions that you can debate about, and involves real life. She also said that in order to cultivate a productive mindset, productive struggle mindset for this kind of a project, you have to make sure you've anticipated the students' misconceptions before you do this task, give them lots of time and scaffold their questions, and hit the idea that confusion and errors are going to be a natural part of this. So she set about doing that, and she did. And I had to laugh when I was reading this part here and how the teachers were actually uncomfortable when Maraska would say, I don't know, to certain questions. Some of the groups got bogged down. Some of the groups went straight forward. Some of the groups that got bogged down had a hard time arguing about, what is the average height of a human being? Well, what is a human being? Is it an adult? Is it an infant? What does gender and ethnicity play a part in this? Overall, then, the teachers came up with their solutions and they shared them. And everybody came up with the idea that the two statements were reasonable. Maybe not exactly true, but reasonable. So here were some of their solutions. The important part to me, though, was at the end, she gave the teachers a 4-question survey. What was your initial reaction to this problem? How confident were you in your conclusion? How did collaborating make you feel about this math and the learning of it? And would you ever use this in your classroom? In the beginning, you can see the teachers were quite apprehensive and discomforted by it, but that at the end, 94% gave an enthusiastic yes, or maybe that they would use it. This is a great quote. Yes, I love the aspect of having students become comfortable with reasonable assumptions rather than explicit answers. She goes on to do some other extensions, applies it to births per minute, births per second. I liked this a lot about how you could actually make this musical, and if you did it in clapping, you could get all these different tempos. She also came up with a Fermi question that went with it, and that took me down a whole nother rabbit hole of NCTM articles for another day. If I were to apply this in my own classroom with my 9th graders in earth science, I would use it as we begin to discuss the scope and size of the universe. Crucial to understanding and utilizing the concept of light year is understanding that a light year is, of course, 186,000 miles per second. And from there, we could go on to figure out what a light minute is, or a light hour, a light day, and then finally how long a light year is, and then multiply that by 4.24 to tell us how far away our nearest star is. If I tell the students that 4.24 light years is how far that star is from us, they'll think, oh, it's very close. But if they could do all that math, they would begin to understand, oh my gosh, it's 24 plus trillion miles away from us. Another application that we could do with that then is to get them to understand how long it would take to get there. Everything in western Nebraska takes a long time to get to, but they could use their own travel information, like to Cheyenne or Denver, and figure out how many thousands of years it would take to get there. I really enjoyed this article, and I hope you did too. Thanks a lot.